Hello, my dear listeners. My name is Kishore Ganesh, and in this episode of the Vocal About Visuals podcast, I'll be reviewing the second installment in the hit in more ways than one Telugu franchise that is simply called Hit, the Second Case, starring Adivi Sesh, Meenakshi Chaudhary, Suhas, and others. It is written and directed by Sailesh Kolanu, and this episode is as fresh off the press as it comes from me because it is once again recorded in Chennai post watching this film just yesterday right here in Madras. Hit, the second case, which I'll be referring to as Hit 2 for convenience sakes, is one of those rare sequels that's better than the original. It follows the Marvel way of making movies, that is, creating cinematic universes. So, Hit 1 happened in Hyderabad, if I remember correctly, and the second part happens in Vizag. The protagonist in this film is Adivi Sesh, who's part of the Hit department, the fictitious homicide wing of the Andhra police. He and Meenakshi Chaudhary play the lead couple, and their story plays out in the cliched way that any romantic couple's story would play out in a police thriller shot in most of Indian cinema. That said, their chemistry is crackling and they do a very good job in their roles in this context. One noticeable feature of this relationship is that it is a live-in relationship, and set in the South Indian cultural context, it makes for an interesting watch. But of course, we are not watching the Hit franchise for the romance. We are watching it for the murder, aka the homicide, and the eventual whodunit. In this department, Hit 2 shines, and extremely brightly at that. Sailesh Kolanu has written an extremely commendable thriller, and you can see the effort that has gone into the scenes because of the details that exist in them. Sailesh's script doesn't just stick to the crime, it also has hints of social commentary, which work, and by that, I mean they don't come across as disingenuous. That said, Sailesh seems to have no problems about writing about and depicting police excesses, brutality, and glorifying them in the quest for quote unquote truth. Though, from the fact that most of the time this brutality leads to catastrophes, makes me believe that Sailesh is suggesting that these excesses are not the right or the most effective way of arriving at the truth. But in this regard, Sailesh's commentary comes across as disingenuous because the amount of glorification that exists in this film in order for the massification makes the commentary come across as disingenuous. But of course, this might have not even been Sailesh's train of thought, and it is just me reading into it. So there is that, and one point that does suggest that maybe this was all in my head is the introduction of a new character post the climax, almost as an epilogue. When you see it, you will get what I'm talking about. And of course, this sequence is treated as a proper mass moment. All this said and done, however, Hit 2 is a very competent and entertaining thriller that keeps you gripped till the very end. For me personally, this is a franchise that has a lot of rewatchability thanks to the good first part and the now even better second part. Bring on the third. Once again, my name is Kishore Ganesh. This is the Vocal About Visuals podcast, and thank you, my dear listeners, for your time and for listening. If you like this content, please give this podcast a follow on your preferred podcast platforms and on YouTube. Follow me on my socials at Twitter and Instagram for details about upcoming episodes and also my thoughts on movies, TV, and everything else in between. Thank you.